So, this is another, like, I guess you could say cartoon adaptation of a storyline, but instead of, like, a Marvel DC storyline, this is going to be a little different, because we're going to be, and even though I'm not a big fan of this universe, I thought it'd be a cool enough story to kind of, like, follow, to, like, do as its own thing. And that is, like, an adaptation of the Invincible War, from, of course, Invincible. But we're not going to be having Invincible. It's going to be called the Danny Phantom War, or the Phantom War. So yeah, we're doing the Invincible War, but with Danny Phantom and a bunch of other characters. Yeah, I thought it'd be kind of cool to. I thought it'd be kind of cool to do that. It was kind of gnawing in my head ever since the storyline of Invincible War happened. So I was like, you know what? It'd be kind of cool to do that. So here we are. Anyway, so let's get started with the video. So the story begins with Danny basically getting, like, a message from Clockwork. And Clockwork's like, hey man, you gotta come here now. Shit just went sideways. Like, shit has gone horrendously sideways, and I'm gonna need you to, like, come here post-haste. Because, it's bad. So Danny's like, it's never good when Clockwork says it's bad. So Danny goes to Clockwork's tower and is like, all right, what's up? So, and Clockwork's like, so here's the deal. Your evil self got away. Your evil self finally broke bonds and took off into. And Danny's like, the Ghost Zone? So he's somewhere in the Ghost Zone. It's like, is he trying to, like, usurp Pariah Dark to become the new Ghost King? Or anything like that? And, Clockwork basically says, no, he did something worse. And he's like, well, what did he do? And Clockwork explains that, like, you see, the Ghost Zone isn't just, like, a place for the dead. It isn't like purgatory for just your universe. And he's like, my universe? And he's like, yeah, it's a portal for the multiverse. It's like, basically, like, it's not just a home for the dead. It's like a portal for the multiverse itself. And he's like, and Danny's just immediately like, excuse me? So, Danny at that point realized that, yeah, his dark self, Dan Phantom, has gone into the multiverse, and Clockwork explains he's been rounding up an army, and he's like, an army of what? Of you. So Dan Phantom has gone around the multiverse, collecting all the Dannys that are, like, evil, twisted, violent, all of them, even psychotic ones, and are bringing them back to the main Earth to attack Danny directly and all the heroes of the Earth. So Danny basically is like, oh shit, I got people to tell. So Danny just puts the entire superhero community on high alert and is like, hey guys, listen, shit is about to go really, really bad, and I need you to know it's not my fault. Well, I mean, it is my fault, but, like, it's not the timeline version of me. But soon as he says that, Dan Phantom shows up, and Dan's just like, hey, me, how are we? And Danny's like, I'm gonna beat. So Danny and him get into a fight, but Dan's just like, you don't get it, do you? I have to, like, thank you, first off, is that, you know, because of, like, me being removed from the timeline, I don't have to be adherent to your rules. I can kill you, and I can still exist. Your whole thing of trapping me in the Ghost Zone and severing that timeline, that helped. So now I'm free to do whatever, and what I decided to do is look for some like-minded gentlemen like me. And the best way to do that was to go into the multiverse and find them. So sure enough, no sooner did Dan say that, like, ghost portals start showing up all across the world, and, like, just hundreds, not thousands, but, like, hundreds of Danny Phantoms, all of them evil, are, like, coming down onto the planet to attack Earth. So all the superheroes are, like, on high alert, because now they have to fight someone who, fight versions of Danny that are evil. And Danny, I think a lot of people forget how powerful he is. So imagine, like, all the powers of Danny Phantom, but now they're just, like, psychotic, evil, cruel. Some of them are dictators on their world. Some of them are serial killers on their world. And they have basically, on their Earths, have killed variants of their heroes. So they know already how to fight these heroes, some of these heroes. But of course, that's easier said than done because everyone, like all the heroes, like band together to fight back. So among like the fights with the Dani variants, you have in Fair City, you have Becky, aka Word Girl, just kind of like throwing down with like two versions of Dani. But the thing is, she doesn't kill, but she does know like how to whip ass. So she does like she basically is fighting she's taking on 2-on-1, and she's like, and the two Danis are like, you know, both of us respectively have killed the Word Girls of our universes, so we know how to kill you, and we know you don't kill. So we know for all that power, you would have, you can kill, but you can't. And Becky's just like, I know I can't, but you know what you can't do? Breathe in space. Grabs both of them and just rockets into the air and leaves them stranded in the stratosphere. And then rockets back down to Earth while the other two are like gasping for air and like desperately trying to like find some way to survive. So while that's going on, you have variants of Dani attacking the Autobot base, and the thing is like one of the Danis that attacks is like a variant of him that was merged with Technus, so he's trying to like take over the Ark and like corrupt it. However, that Dani didn't like, as he's like trying to like rewrite the Ark and turn the systems against them and like kill the Autobots in their own base. What he didn't expect, however, was while he's like trying to like destroy the system and kill all the Autobots, there's one thing he didn't take into account: how pissed off Grimlock would be. And Grimlock just is like, comes in with his sword and just slices him in half. Remember, Dani's part human, so he can be killed. So Dani basically, like, that Dani just gets split in half, and Grimlock's just like, dumb machine, and just proceeds to just kick the body out of the way. Other Danis are battling the Powerpuff Girls, and they're like, so here's the thing. And that Dani's like, look, I've killed the Powerpuff Girls in my universe. And the Powerpuff Girls are like, cool, we're not them. So the fight breaks out, and that Dani does take it to all three of the Powerpuff Girls because he like possesses Blossom, uses her to attack Bubbles and Buttercup until Blossom like just forces him out of her body. Then you have like Shizao, Guy is just whipping ass against another one. You have in Britain, there's several Danis that went to Britain, specifically London, to battle Alucard. And Alucard is just feasting on Ghost Boy blood. And this is a war. You know, Alucard makes a point of like, this is a war, and in war, you need an army. So what did Alucard do? Do you think he just went control and restriction 0? No, he did one better. What Alucard did in order to fight these Dani variants was he called some old friends. Who were those friends? The old Universal monsters. He called together the Frankenstein monster, his bride. He called the descendants of Talbot and Griffin, who have also become the werewolves and an invisible man in their own right. He summoned the Gill Man. He summoned Emotep to his aid. He summoned summoned like the old Universal monsters to his aid to fight in this war and start killing Danis. But here's the thing: not every superhero is winning these fights, and even when some of these characters do win the fights, a lot of them are pretty banged up by the end of it, so they can't like go and fight other Danis that are flooding in because they get beat up. Because again, Dani's pretty powerful. So even the ones who are holding their own against these unleashed variants, they're getting their ass beat and have to like sit out or tend to their wounds, whereas other heroes are getting just absolutely trounced. Like Kim gets absolutely wrecked by like 3 Dani variants who get the jump on her because they're like, we know that whole Zero suit you have is pretty strong, and we know you would kill us if need be. So we just thought it to dogpile. They just dogpile her. Then there's the Joes, members of GI Joe who are getting wrecked by a Danny Phantom variant. You have of course the Gravity Falls family, forced to run as a Danny variant just razes Gravity Falls to the ground. There's there's a lot of heroes who are getting their shit pushed in while trying to fight them, whereas other characters are trying to, get healed up and help for the fight. But again, there aren't a lot of characters out there that are being able to hold their own. And if you're wondering where the villains are just kind of like hiding out and just kind of like watching the whole thing. Meanwhile, Danny himself, he's still in battling Dan Phantom. And Dan basically explains, like, this is not gonna end until I say it ends. And I'm the one who, like, brought these Dannys here. So, the only way to bring them back is if, like, basically this suit I'm wearing is a recall device. So they only, like, go back when this suit gets turned off, i.e. you kill me. And we both know you're not gonna kill me. You don't have that killer instinct. But Danny's just like, it's like you said, you don't exist in this timeline. So, yeah, I see the future, and you're not a part of it. So we do have a bit of that invincible conquest fight in the middle of it. So Danny and Dan just get into this absolute bloody, no-holds-bar brawl between the two of them, and they just wreck house. They just absolutely just destroy everything in their fight. Like, it is just wrecking Amity Park. People are being forced to, like, run for their lives. It's just an absolute beating between the two of them, until eventually Danny does, like, phase his hand through Dan's chest, and Dan's like, you're not gonna do it, and Danny's like, yeah, I am, and just rips his heart out, Mortal Kombat style. Thus, with the suit destroyed, the other remaining Dannys that haven't been killed or beaten down are thrown back to their universes. And Danny's just kind of left there like, I had to just literally kill myself to save the world from versions of me, and now and Dan's whole thing is like, yeah, they're never gonna forget that it was you. Even when they know it was you, all they're gonna see is your face by the end of, when this is all said and done, win or lose. So now Danny has to live with that and repair the damage his variants have done to the world from here on out. So there you go, guys. That is the Danny Phantom War. I want to thank you guys for enjoying this. Other than that, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.